Yes, good evening. And my name is Wallace Gator Bradley. And I'm the president of United Peace, Inc. And I'm the urban translator. And as they call me on the streets in the state of Illinois, as I'm known as JB's Monorail. First off, let me say, to God be the glory. And I'd like to say and let my viewing audience know that this show is being brought to you because of a great producer and a director. And she's also the chairman of United Peace, Inc., none other than my wife, who I love with a burning passion, Miss Terry Mars. Well, a lot has happened since last week. I was on the show and I was talking about shutting down the Dan Ryan and how I was in support of what Father Fager and Reverend Jesse Jackson and the thousands of others in shutting down the Dan Ryan, to put emphasis and concerns on all this violence and the solutions to the violence. You may have an opinion and a plan, I may have an opinion and a plan. Well, the shutdown was successful. You had a cross-section of people, senior citizens to toddlers, young activists, old activists, few elected officials I saw out there. I saw Danny Davis and Susan Mendoza, I believe that's her name. I saw a lot of people that were running for office. But one of the most important things, I saw how everything was done decent and in order. I saw how the people waited until Father Fager and Reverend Jesse Jackson talked to whomever they had to talk to in order to make a peaceful and an orderly transition coming down the way from 79th Street onto the expressway and then on to the Dan Ryan. I applaud the mayor for intervening. I applaud Ronald for speaking. Whatever he said, from what I read, the most important thing, everything was done peaceful and in order. Now that that's done, a lot of people is asking the question, what's next? But before we get in that, let's talk about those commercials that Ronna has on the air about JB and the toilets. That's a wild commercial. But what do taking toilets out of a condemned building have to do with the fact that Ronna ain't had a budget in 3 years? Okay? What about all the businesses that went down because he didn't have a budget? But there's one commercial that I've seen on the air, and I know you've seen on the air, and it's something that I was telling you about last year. How during the primary, I said that Ronald was going to make commercials and stars in his commercials of Kennedy and of Bitts. And I feel the reason he brought that up was because of his continued plan to suppress the African American voters, those that supported Kennedy and those that supported Bitts. I see I got a caller on the line. Caller, could you please state your name and voice your opinion?
I sure will, Mr. Gator. This is Ray.
Hey, Ray.
You know what? It was such a beautiful thing to watch. I was against the march, but it was such a beautiful thing to watch people march and no trouble.
Yeah.
They were given 2 lanes, and they stood in the 2 lanes. But the only bad part about that whole thing, about the marches, do you know what it is?
What's that?
No politicians. Where were they? They're always on TV talking about helping this and helping that. Maybe it was better they didn't show up because maybe they aroused the people. But
right.
It was a beautiful thing to see. Beautiful. I've never seen anything like it.
You know.
Go ahead. I just want to say this one last thing.
I'm glad you.
Okay. I hope that you and your lovely bride are healthy and stay healthy, so maybe we could see more of this great stuff.
Oh, ain't no question. Thank you, Ray. And as always, thank you, and hooray, hooray for Brother Ray.
Hooray, hooray, hooray.
You know, Ray, I'm glad that you said that. I got another caller on. Caller, could you please state your name and voice your opinion? Hello?
Hey,
Hello?
Hey, Wallace. This is Pat. How are you?
Hey, Pat, how you feeling?
I'm great. Just want to say 2 things right quick.
Okay.
One of the things, I just want to congratulate you guys on the march. It was a success. It was a beautiful thing, and I was all for it, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Then I want to ask you about this little rumor that I'm hearing about JB's deputy campaign manager trying to get you off the streets. What's up with that?
You know, I've been hearing that too, but you know, I've been hearing that when I first started campaigning for JB, before this young man even come to town. So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm confused. I'm like, because I know for a fact that you're one of his biggest advocates. Like, didn't you pay for that first advertisement for him in the Defender?
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did. Because I believe in him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you know, the whole thing is, I'm going to be with JB because I see the vested interest. I know the young man, he's not from Chicago. He's not from the state of Illinois.
So
he's not from Cook County. So he may not see the people because he don't know the people like I do. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to chalk that up and I'm going to keep doing what I'm going to do. But one thing for sure, JB ain't came and told me he don't want me to tell the people that he's the best guy. And he ain't came and told me he don't want me on the campaign. So the whole thing is this. When you're doing right, and you're doing it for the right reason, he's the right man for the job, okay? Sometimes people that be in the campaign forget about the candidate. And one thing we all know in the campaign, people have to have good people skills. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
You know, and so for all the people that's out there, know this. Gator was with JB for a lot of people, became about being for JB. Okay?
I know.
And I got a vested interest in this campaign and in this election. And I ain't letting nobody think that they can come in this town and push an individual that's sincere about telling the voters and convincing the voters that JB is the best man for this job. Just like I did for JB to be the Democratic nominee in this November 6th election. And I thank for your concern, and I'm asking you, stay with me and be with JB.
Keep doing what you doing. Because when people don't know no better, they can't do no better.
Sure, you're right.
You know better, so you keep doing better.
I love you more.
What you doing, my brother.
I love you more. Thank you.
I love you, darling. All right, baby.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You know, I ain't new to this game. And one thing I want to say to those that may be listening to this show and may be feeding into the rumors, one thing for sure, I know what's meant to be is going to be. And I want to say this publicly. The young people, when they had the press conference, I was reading an article in Michael Sneed's column. The young individuals put out a letter where they wanted to meet with the elected officials. That's the mayor, and that's Ronna, and they wanted to meet with the individuals that was running to be elected governor. And that's J.B. Pritzker, and those that want to be mayor. I don't have enough time to name all those candidates that want to be mayor. But I think y'all need to call Father Fagan so that those individuals that feel that they want to be either the mayor or the governor, listen to the young people's concerns. It's only right and fitting that you do. So, those that's in charge of JB's campaign, do your job like I do my job if you're concerned about electing this man to office. Call Father Fagan and try to schedule a meeting with our candidate, J.B. Pritzker, with those young individuals. Because one thing I know Pritzker's hard, and he would have no problem listening to those young adults. And I know that he is against senseless violence. But moving on. The officials want to reopen the Emmett Till case. Wow. They want to open up a case that they say that the individuals that committed the crime are no longer alive. And I know that the families Emmett's case was never closed. Okay? That's a mark that's hindering over the United States because of racism and hate. Racism and hate. An individual got mad at a young woman because she had on a Puerto Rican shirt. And he said some hideous and hateful things, and it was recorded. Thank God that Kim Foxx is the state's attorney. Hate crime charges was filed against that man, or it was against that man that did that to that young lady. But what's wild is that the officer that stood by and watched that happen, he had to resign from the Forest Reserve Police. Now that's justice because they're going to have their day, or the guy that committed the crime of hate crimes going to have his day in court. And then we're going to see how the system works. And the system don't always work the way that we feel it should work. We're seeing that with what happened with the police officer that killed Betty Jones and killed LaGria and jumped on two guys in a bar and he won all that, and then he was just rearrested, or he got involved in another altercation. And from what I'm reading in the paper, his lawyer said it was some gang members, it was some vice lords, or it was somebody that was shaking him off, trying to get the impression like that officer is a superhero, like he's Spider-Man or somebody. But I do believe that there is a God, and I do believe that God's going to touch legislators, and they're going to make a law where the police officers are going to be held accountable for their misconduct, like you and I, who are citizens and registered voters. That when we do something wrong, as far as killing someone or shooting someone, it's held to pay the piper. And I believe, because I'm God-fearing and I believe in God, that the day is going to happen when the police officers going to have to straighten up and fly right. This ain't against all the police officers, just those that engage in police misconduct. And while I'm speaking on that, in the case of Terrence Brooks, as he's preparing to come out of the institution because he was wrongfully convicted, because 4 other guys that he was arrested with have got tortured by the police officers, and the torture commission come back and say that they were tortured. 2 of the individuals got acquitted. One of them was tortured so bad that he lost one of his testicles. And because the mayor and the city council created a reparations for the John Burge torture victims, those 2 individuals, Maurice Deloney and Curtis Millsap, were able to get $100,000 reparations. The other 2 individuals, Javan Deloney and Ivan Smith, the torture commission come back and say that they was tortured. And the irony of it all, they was tortured to implicate Terrence in a crime that they didn't even commit. And Ivan Smith, he was in Tennessee. There was an assistant state's attorney by the name of Charles Chuck Burns, who's now a judge in the felony court. They took 2 police officers that have a track record of torturing African American men. A track record. Not a rumor, a track record. Took them along with a court reporter to Tennessee to get Ivan Smith and brought him back to Chicago. And the torture commission come back and say Ivan Smith was tortured. Chuck Burns, his name was mentioned in a federal document called 302 that was unsealed in the Inglewood 4 case, where he had a mindset as an individual who was in the state's attorney's office over felony review, saying that the assistant state's attorneys need to support whatever the police are saying 100%. And his attitude was, even if an individual got tortured, support what the police say. And now we found out the police was corrupt to the point that was so strong that the state's attorney now, Kim Foxx, made a decision not to further prosecute the brothers from the Inglewood 4. They released, the Cook County settled for $5 million with one of the guys. But the fact is this, that man is on the bench. He's a judge. He was a corrupt assistant state's attorney, and the state's attorney's office before Kim got there was corrupt to the core. So let us pray for Kim Foxx in her efforts to bring about fairness within the state's attorney's office, because she was elected by the people, but she sits on an abyss of corrupt state's attorneys, assistant state's attorneys, not all of them, but enough of them that engage in the cover-up of police torture, from former Mayor Daley, who was the state's attorney, to Dick Devine, to Alvarez. Nothing fresh came through that office until we the people elected Kim Foxx. So I want to say hooray, hooray to Kim Foxx. She's doing a great job because she know that she was elected by the people to do a great job. But don't get it twisted. If you commit the crime and they got the evidence, she's going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. I want you to hear me again. If you commit a crime and they got the evidence, she's going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. In this case with Terrence Brooks, everybody has recanted their statements in affidavits. The reason he getting a new trial is because of ineffective assistance of his counsel. Because his counsel didn't bring the individual in as a witness where he had an alibi, and I believe the appellate court demanded that he get a new hearing. So I want to say, know the rights that you got, but also know the law. But one thing for sure, know the Lord. Caller, I'll see you. Could you please state your name?
Hey, Gator, this is Steve, and how you doing?
Hey, Steve, how you feeling, sir?
Man, I've been meaning to talk to you, been really busy. Listen, I was glad to see you up at the town hall meeting with Kerry Austin, too.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good thing. Listen, and I heard you talk about Kim Foxx. Let me tell you, it's a team just like anything else with this state's attorney's office, right?
Right.
Let me tell you, the investigators, and they got one of the best who's leading them. I hope you maybe get a chance to meet her. Her name is Roni. She is making a great big difference at the office. And you know what? Look, Gator. You remember I was telling you about this? It's amazing how we talking right now than the way we was talking 20, 30 years ago.
That's the truth, Steve.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how the people we come in contact with now and never even dare to do or say things back in the day. Listen, Gator, you're always doing a good job, man. Listen, Kerry will be having the same town hall on the 19th. I hope I get a chance to see you.
Oh, man, hey, man, you know I'm going to be there.
Okay, I'll see you up there. Let me get out there so I can hear your response.
Okay, thank you, sir. You know, Steve, I'm glad that you made mention of what Alderman Kerry Austin, chairman of the Budget Committee for the City Council. She have a town hall meeting, and I always tell people, go to your various aldermen's town hall meetings. Don't always criticize when you got a chance to come in and say what you feel is a problem within your ward. I'm from the Wild Hundreds and from the low end. And some people try to say I'm from the west side. But I just tell them I'm from Cook County and the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. And I'm telling you, don't always beat up on your elected officials. Get in there. And Mark Allen, I want to say this publicly. I've been hearing your voice. You may be vetting, but you're telling the truth. A lot of resources come to the community, and the people don't go fill out the papers to get those grants. There's tens of millions of dollars that's for the African American community, but they don't go get it. You done told them how to come fill out the grant forms. They don't come. So don't stress yourself out dying and complaining. There's something that we have, and I'm going to let this go. From the world that I come from, that I used to be about, there's a thing they call we the willing. And we the willing are the ones that get out there and try to do something for all the people, including the ungrateful. I want to say that to you, my brother. Stay strong. It takes all of us. And God just picked some of us. But it got to be we who are willing to do the work. To God be the glory. Love you, man.